All right, hello again. This is Ben Hitchcock Cross talking to you today. I got a couple things going on. Finally, have my audio fixed. That's something. I don't know what other color we got besides light blue. It's 55 degrees in February, so you tell me. Sad headline today. We've got a assistant principal from Whitefish Bay charged with vehicular manslaughter. Um, I don't know. We'll get to what exactly the charge is in a second here. Um, this is pretty significant. It's pretty serious. It raises big questions about what the school board knew and when did it know it, um, and what's going on from there. Um, yeah, it's really unhappy, and my heart reaches out to all the victims here. Um, but we're going to get into it. We're going to get into it. So, okay.
In Whitefish Bay faces felony charges after investigators say she killed a man while driving drunk in late December. CBS 58's Ellie Nakamoto White reports on what officials believe led up to that fatal crash.
51-year-old Rebecca Solomon has worked as the associate principal here at Cumberland Elementary since July 2021. But on Sunday, December 29th, just after 8 p.m., Washington County Sheriff's officials responded to a serious crash at this West Bend intersection, where they say Solomon failed to yield and hit another driver, who died from their injuries days later. According to this criminal complaint, officers noticed Solomon had slurred speech and bloodshot eyes before she told police she had had 3 margaritas. A blood test later revealed her alcohol level was .10, over Wisconsin's legal limit of .08. The Whitefish Bay School District's superintendent confirmed Solomon was placed on administrative leave, and in a statement to parents said, quote, "While they can't share further details due to privacy rights, please know the matter is being handled with the utmost care and seriousness." One parent CBS 58 spoke with said she, quote, "believes it's extremely unfortunate, but due to the circumstances, I think permanent leave is required. I believe the district is handling the situation very well, and appropriate measures have been taken." Solomon will make her initial appearance in court on March 18th at 10:30 in the morning. If convicted, she faces up to 50 years in prison. In Whitefish Bay, Ellie Nakamoto White, CBS 58 News.
Put that aside. Thank you very much. All right. Um, so we've got that. That's our headline there. So I guess the first questions I would want to ask is basically what they knew and when did they know it. Because I guess the question right there is the facts that we have is somebody admitting to having 3 margaritas,
Task
having
Force on the
a point
Declassification
one,
of Federal
and then
Secrets. This task
um,
force will
sometimes YouTube can be the worst. And then blowing a point one. Now, there's a couple of things that I'm no expert in, and I've told you about this time and time again. I'm not very good at statistics. I'm not very good at future loss and retirement benefits, and I'm not really good at alcohol levels. There are many people who grew up in an alcohol cultured uh, culture to a greater extent than I did that can rattle that off. I'm sure many of you can. But my understanding is there's the legal limit, and then technically speaking, but there are. I mean, we just saw a young man in Michigan um, go up in front of Judge Dad. I think Judge Oakley, right, saying um, that he had 3 times the legal limit when and I assume he crashed, but still. Now, number one factor here that we all need to look at is somebody died. And besides being a tragedy, that is going to change the equation no matter what. And that's important to say. Why? Because essentially what's going on is when there's alcohol involved and you're driving in a motor vehicle, it's reckless because You're driving what does Judge Stevens say, a 4,000 pound missile, and you're legally responsible, but you're not in physically in control. Um, which is, nearly the same. This is not going to be the same elements, but nearly the same, and certainly the same concept as shooting a bullet into a building, or other similar, driving a car 65 miles an hour down a residential roadway. And we just saw, gosh, 23 and 1. I just saw exactly this, a young lady lose much of her life in South Carolina after killing somebody on their wedding day, no doubt. Alcohol was involved, 25 years, um, which I think is the maximum of what we're talking about here. But man, that would be unfortunate. Uh, I can't imagine receiving 25 years, that's for sure. On the other hand, and I guess I want to be clear, and this is going to be my statement here, not necessarily speaking for deliberate indifference. This is all Ben Hitchcock Cross. I just don't have any um, empathy for drunk drivers. I just don't, and I understand of the consequence, the realities of transportation. Understand the distances that are involved. I understand everything else. Um, but if you're going to get into a 4,000 pound missile and travel down the highway, inches away from oncoming traffic, you better be sober. And I just don't. I mean, I think more than anything else, what's so appropriate about this is that it stands as a message about long sentences for people who murder people after consuming alcohol. Is that it lets everybody think about that on their better sober days. Now, there is another issue that I want to be very clear about, which is sometimes it's a disease. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And how do you address that issue? Well, you don't drive. I mean, that is basically what the answer is. The other question that I'm going to raise here, and I think that this is one that the district needs to answer, is what did people know about this? Because here's what I was juxtaposing with this facts, and before we got logged into this, when you hear about somebody in an assistant principal position killing somebody, you're going to assume that it's not a one-time event, and that they've got a drinking problem, and you're going to assume that it's affecting, that people in their life are going to know about it. It's possible that they don't. It's absolutely possible. Um, but you're going to assume that they don't. Now, again, this is just one facts here, and from what I've seen, again, a 0.1, that's not the greatest. It's not the greatest. It could have been a dark and stormy. I mean, we're going certainly to wait until all the facts are put in front of a jury, or they otherwise dispose of this case, before we make any kind of judgment about this. I mean, everybody is presumed innocent. Um, but we just need to think about, if given all these facts here, and we know that somebody was killed, okay, that is not in dispute. It's a question of, um, is somebody criminally responsible, and if so, to what extent? Now, let us get into, because I think there's a little bit more information in the newspaper article. So let me pull that up. Hold on. All right, here is the headline. Its byline is Claudia Levins, Whitefish Bay Elementary School official charged in fatal drunk driving crash in West Bend. A Whitefish Bay Elementary School official has been charged in December at drunk driving crash in West Bend that killed a man. And when does this come out? On the 20th? Okay. I mean, the actual filing documents, I think, came out on the 1st, and the news got everything Yeah. Cumberland Elementary Associate Principal Rebecca Solomon, 51, faces felony charges in the fatal crash that took place after she allegedly ran a stop sign while driving home on December 29th in the town of West Bend, according to a criminal complaint obtained from the Washington County District Attorney's Office. Okay, now, I am a school superintendent. It's December 29th. I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? You put her on leave immediately because, wait and see what's going to happen. Um, now, do you tell people that you put her on leave for personal reasons? What do you tell them, knowing that if she gets charged, it's going to come out? And what's the basis for putting her on leave? I mean, what rule did she violate? Usually, school districts have rules about off duty um, use of alcohol, and they also have rules about criminal convictions, and they also, this would not be a conviction, and they also have a rule about things that put the district in disrepute. I don't know. They haven't said. It's not my case. What do I know? All right. Solomon admitted to investigators that she consumed 3 margaritas at Lucky Shots, a West Bend tavern, before getting behind the wheel that night, according to the complaint. Man, I don't know why I would say anything, but hey, that's what she admitted to. Whitefish Bay School District Superintendent Jamie Feckler told families in a message February 24th that Solomon has not returned to work since the district was made aware of the matter, though it is not clear when that was. Oh, they would have had to know the next day. A Milwaukee Journal Sentinel reporter's attempts to reach Whitefish Bay School District administrators was unsuccessful on Tuesday, February 25th. All right. Solomon was charged with 1 count of homicide by intoxicated use of a vehicle and another count of homicide by intoxicated use of a vehicle with a prohibited alcohol concentration. Combined, the 2 counts could come up with fines of up to $200,000 and up to 50 years in prison. I'm guessing they're both, one's lesser included. I don't think 50 years is on the table. I'm guessing about 25 is the maximum of what we're realistically talking about. According to the criminal complaint, I tried, by the way, to get a criminal complaint. I don't know why I thought it would be that easy, but you can't just get it because you're not a party. Okay, fine. But do you have to go to the actual places nowadays? Um, I I haven't thought about it. Um, so I'm getting on that. The Washington County responded to the reports on the intersection of County P and County Trunk NN in the town of West Bend. The deputies found a Chevy Impala at the intersection with an injured, unconscious man slumped over the driver's seat. I do know from other reports, or I understand from other reports, that the driver succumbed to his injuries, as they say, some days later. They also found a Jeep Grand Cherokee in a ditch southeast of the intersection that was empty. About the empty intersection. Solomon and a passenger she Solomon and a passenger she had been drinking with stood in the roadway. Got it. The injured man still had a pulse and a shallow breathing at that time, and paramedics arrived to transport him to the hospital. He died 5 days later. On January 3rd, that's quite a died from cranial cerebral injuries sustained during the crash. Always wear a seatbelt. It's one of the great tragedies of life that it's almost always the victim of the crash who's hurt worse than the drunk driver. At the scene of the crash, deputies noticed visible signs of intoxication in Solomon, but the passenger instructed Solomon not to say anything about what happened. I've really tried today for about 15 minutes to find out who this passenger was, wasn't able to do it. The passenger instructed Solomon not to say anything about what happened and continued to interrupt deputies' questions to her on the scene, according to complaint. When he was told to stop interfering, the passenger turned his body towards the deputies. Oh, I like this part. In a way they interpreted, end of my appreciation, as a pre attack posture, and they detained him in handcuffs. Solomon eventually did tell deputies that she had been driving home from Lucky Shots and had 3 margaritas early in the morning, but she also said she had stopped in the sign. Deputies instructed Solomon through sobriety tests that also showed intoxication. Instructed through? I'll take it. Ran, maybe? And eventually arrested her for operating while under the influence. Her blood alcohol level was 0.109%. I wonder how later that was. That's always an issue. An accident reconstruction undertaken by the Washington County Sheriff's Office determined that Solomon had either failed to stop at the stop sign or failed to yield, causing the victim's vehicle to strike the driver's side of Solomon's. That's a really weird way to put it. Solomon will make an initial court appearance at 10:30 a.m. on March 18th. I wonder if she was bailed out, or there's a lot of questions that you can't find. You have to go dig deeper into the court file that we just don't have here. But you've been sitting here me talk. All right, well, that's what I have for you today on this one. It's a darn shame. Um, and I guess I do want to tie us back into this simple concept. It's not impossible that the district knew nothing about this before it happened. But I would want to know more from Dr. Feckler, and I do want to know more from Dr. Feckler about what the district knew and when do they knew about it. And I mean, let's put it like this. Let's assume a world in which she's totally innocent. Well, is she putting her on leave? Is she being paid? Is she not being paid? What's going on with that? Those are pretty relevant questions. As relevant, frankly, as if she's 100% guilty. Because then the next set of questions would be, when did they know that there was any problem with alcohol? Not that they would make them liable, but it would make us um, concerned. And I guess I would say that then too. What did the principal know and when did she know it? I guess that's it for the back, going both ways. Was there a problem? And what did they do after they learned about because I'm going to put it to you like this. As a customer, which makes it really easy for me to interpret the how I might feel, I would say I would want to have known about the situation, not like this. Well, what do you do? That still is the question for you all here today. What do you do? You're the superintendent, you tell me. All right? Thanks for sticking with us. I think we've finally got control of our audio board, and we'll keep you informed.